I've never heard. My question to WWE's production team and production crew is, and everybody that's going to be involved with this DVD is, how is it possible to chronicleize and talk about something as grandeur as WrestleMania? I remember when WrestleMania had 10 editions in, when they returned to New York City in 1994 for the first time since it had been created in 1985, when it was on nothing more than closed-circuit television and nothing like pay-per-view or anything like that had ever been heard of. And when they went on to make the decision to have a second installment of the show and have WrestleMania 2 broadcast in 3 different cities, and everybody believed Vince McMahon and WWE were off their rocker and had lost their damn minds trying something like WrestleMania in 1986. WrestleMania 2, the second installment, only in the second year, to do it in 3 different cities, and they were completely off their rocker. But my question to WWE Home Video is, how can you chronicleize something as grandeur as WrestleMania? I remember when they had 10 installments in, going back to the original birthplace every 10 years. It seems to return to its original birthplace. So coming up on the 30th installment of WrestleMania in just a few years, obviously they'll go back to New York City for the 30th anniversary of WrestleMania, as they do every 10 years. But the question I have is, how can you chronicleize something as grandeur as WrestleMania in just, a 3-disc set? No doubt we're going to hear some stories that we haven't heard before, that have been on, haven't been on previous DVDs, like the greatest WrestleManias of all time, WrestleMania's greatest hits, and the WrestleMania anthology, which have been previously released. But no doubt we're going to hear something different from every superstar that's been involved with WrestleMania, like Shawn Michaels, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Bret Hart, and a number of current WWE superstars are also going to be featured on this DVD. They're going to weigh in on WrestleMania. One guy that I'm going to be interested in hearing from definitely is Stone Cold Steve Austin, who hasn't been involved with WWE for a number of years. One of the last times we saw Stone Cold Steve Austin back on television, of course, was to accept his Hall of Fame induction a few years ago, and of course, most recently, making his return to WWE to be one of the main hosts of the first Tough Enough series that had been produced in the last decade. But I'm definitely going to be interested in hearing, people like Stone Cold Steve Austin and Triple H weigh in on WrestleMania and hear some of the stories that they have to say about WrestleMania. Vince McMahon, who is no longer used on WWE television, is also going to be profiled on this DVD, and he's got some stories that I hope you're going to find entertaining as well about WrestleMania that he's never spoken of. A lot of people, something about Vince McMahon that a lot of people, need to take note of, and I'm sure take note of and account of all the time, is the fact that a lot of people thought Vince McMahon was off his rocker when he made the announcement that he was going to be trying something like WrestleMania. This was an event that had never been tried before, and it was just, a trial and error. It was done on a trial and error basis, and every year thereafter, they went up by a number: WrestleMania 2, WrestleMania 3, WrestleMania 4, WrestleMania 5, and so on. And each WrestleMania, I think, is attached to a different story and has a different reasoning behind it, because this was an event that had its first match done in Madison Square Garden that featured Tito Santana going up against the Executioner. And it was a match, of course, that centered around Tito Santana being heavily involved in the Intercontinental title hunt back in 1985. Vince McMahon told Tito Santana to go out and blow the roof off of Madison Square Garden, and that is something that he definitely did. I had the privilege of talking to Tito Santana, as well as a number of different people who were involved in WrestleMania, such as, Dave Hebner, who officiated several matches at WrestleMania. I also had the privilege of talking to the Honky Tonk Man, who performed Honky Honky Love at one of the WrestleManias done here in Canada. I had the privilege of talking to a lot of people who headlined WrestleMania: Demolition, Jake the Snake Roberts, Superfly Jimmy Snuka, who was The Undertaker's first victim ever in his streak, when he embarked on his streak. I had the privilege of speaking to a lot of different individuals who were a part of WrestleMania, who main evented WrestleMania at some point. John Bradshaw Layfield, who still believes to this day that he was involved in one of the greatest WrestleManias of all time, when he had that match with John Cena for the WWE Championship and actually dropped the title to him. John Cena and JBL have one of the greatest WrestleMania matches of all time to this day, and JBL goes on record for saying that around the time that match was done, he was one of the biggest John Cena fans in the world and still is to this day. But I really think that, WrestleMania definitely has a story attached to it. Every edition of WrestleMania, from 1 right up to 26, has a story attached to it. And I think this is something that, the DVD is definitely going to chronicleize and take an in-depth look at, something that has never been done before. In previous years that I alluded to, they released the WrestleMania Anthology, which is still being looked at to this day as a tremendous collector's item for any fan of WWE, because it takes a look at WrestleMania and the evolution, more importantly, of WrestleMania in the past 21 years. It goes from WrestleMania 1 from 1985 right up until WrestleMania 20 of 2004, 21, excuse me, WrestleMania 21 of 2005. So it chronicleizes anywhere from 20 to 21 years of WrestleMania, and it's something that, the WrestleMania Anthology took a look at was the evolution and the change of WrestleMania. It takes a look at, the first WrestleMania that involved people like Brutus Beefcake, who I also had the privilege of, speaking with, and it takes a look at people like Andre the Giant and Jimmy Snuka and Coco Beware and individuals like that who, paved the way for WrestleManias to come after it. When WrestleMania was thought as nothing more than something that was, broadcast on closed-circuit television. And, it takes a look at the evolution of WrestleMania and the different superstars that were involved with WrestleMania from year to year, and something like that. But never before has a DVD been released that is going to, speak about WrestleMania and every WrestleMania that has been created. The greatest hits of WrestleMania, which was available on VHS. I'm an old school type of guy, and I actually had the VHS of the greatest hits of WrestleMania, and only took a look at a select few moments that WrestleMania provided us with. Some of the things that were looked at in that DVD were the first WrestleMania ladder match that took place in 1994, when WrestleMania went back to its original birthplace for the first time in 10 years, featuring Scott Hall and Shawn Michaels, and that match really put Shawn Michaels on the map and labeled him as one of the true innovators of the ladder match. It also took a look at the historical match between Kane and The Undertaker, the first ever meeting between The Undertaker and, Kane, and then other staple matches that really put WrestleMania on the map and really showed and told the story of what WrestleMania was really all about. The Iron Man match was looked at in depth between Shawn Michaels and Bret the Hitman Hart. A number of different key factors of WrestleMania were looked at in the match, but nothing more than highlights were looked at in the greatest hits of WrestleMania, which of course was available on VHS and DVD. But never before has every WrestleMania been looked at in terms of a story and how it was created. And I think this is something that fans are really going to get a look at, how Vince McMahon took WrestleMania and put it on the map and made it a global phenomenon, something that people like Pat Patterson and Jerry Briscoe never thought would amount to anything. Nobody, I think nobody other than Vince McMahon believed that WrestleMania was going to have as much hype and as much success as it has had in the past 26, 27 years. As it embarks on its 27th installment here, just recently. But I really think that this DVD is going to take an in-depth look at WrestleMania like no other DVD or Blu-ray disc has, in the past number of years. Nothing like this has ever been released before, and I think it's something that a fan should definitely take the time to invest time in to sit down and take a look at. One of WWE's first Blu-ray releases definitely was a WrestleMania. WrestleMania 24 was the first thing that WWE ever attempted to release on Blu-ray. And the difference, of course, between Blu-ray and DVD, there's a significant difference in that. And that was WWE's first attempt to release something on Blu-ray, and after that they made that transition from Blu-ray from DVD into Blu-ray, which everything has in the past number of years. But WrestleMania definitely is a key factor and a turning point. The embarking of a new season, the embarking on of a new season in WWE, and I think that definitely WrestleMania is a landmark event, and it's something that the true story of WrestleMania is really going to take a look at. Past and current superstars are going to be involved in this DVD, and it is definitely something I think for a lot of fans to pick up and add to their current WWE DVD or Blu-ray collection. And there are a lot of great WrestleMania moments that WrestleMania has provided us with over the years. If I had to pick one of my favorite WrestleMania moments of all time, it definitely would have to have been the Shawn Michaels Undertaker matches, which happened most recently at more recent installments of WrestleMania. The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels, that program that they worked for 2 years in a row, really brought the best out of themselves, and the matches that Shawn Michaels had with Bret Hart and Stone Cold Steve Austin. Some of my favorite WrestleMania moments definitely involved someone like Shawn Michaels.